Hey guys, it's Amy. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you're all having a wonderful day as always. Today I want to talk to you guys about the Michelle Martinko case, which happened a long time ago, back in December of 1979, and went cold up until just recently.
Michelle Martinko was a very beautiful girl. She loved to sing in her school choir, as well as being part of the baton twirling club at her school. However, she was murdered when she was only 18 years old.
They finally arrested someone by the name of Jerry Lynn Burns.
Who was 64 years old at the time that he was arrested on December 19th, 2018, which would have been 39 years to the day of Martinko's murder. He would have been 25 years old on the day of her death.
And it was right around Christmas time, which makes it even sadder. Now that they've officially, finally, with the help of our future technology DNA that they didn't have back in the 70s, now they have finally caught the man that they think killed this poor young girl so long ago. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what happened, how they came about finding this guy, and what I think. So that should be interesting as usual. On the night that Michelle Martinko was killed, she had had a choir performance.
Here we see Michelle Martinko's final choir performance.
And then after that, she was going to go to the mall because she wanted to buy a new winter coat. She had actually asked one of her good friends to go with her. Her friend had said she had too much homework and she didn't have time to go to the mall that night. So Michelle ended up going by herself and she was never heard from again. So it's around 8 o'clock at night when she's last seen. And then they end up making a horrible discovery very soon after the fact. 4 o'clock in the morning, the very next morning, they found her car in the mall parking lot.
Found by J.C. Penney at the Westdale Mall. She was found lying on her back, leaning against the passenger door, slumped over the seat, with 21 stab wounds in her face, neck, and chest, as well as defensive hand wounds. She was wearing all of her clothes, and there was no evidence anywhere else, nor any fingerprints, showing that it had to have happened only in the car. There was no weapon found, but it was a sharp, pointed object, and they are not even sure if it was a knife.
She had been stabbed to death, mainly in her face, which is really sad and disturbing. The car, she'd been wearing a rabbit fur coat. The interior of the car was basically covered with scattered fur, rabbit fur from the coat that had blood on it. So bloody rabbit fur was all in the car. And there was some DNA they had apparently kept very well over these years that they found on the gear shift and the steering wheel. So they were able to do some DNA searches. They had tried some time ago to do some DNA searches, but they didn't find anybody in the system. So interestingly enough, they ended up using one of those ancestry sites to track down the DNA. The DNA in the ancestry site brought them to distant cousins of the accused killer, which then led them to the Burns family brothers. There was 3 brothers, and 2 of them, the DNA did not match. But then Jerry Lynn Burns, his DNA did end up matching. Almost 40 years later, they were able to figure out who did it based on an ancestry site for DNA, which is interesting. And one of the crazy things is that the person who had put in the DNA, this distant cousin, didn't even know them, by the way, didn't know any of these people, didn't even live anywhere near them.
This is Brandy Jennings and her father, Jim. This is the distant cousin that led to the DNA match.
She decided to put their father's DNA into the system after he had passed away. But the weird thing is that her brother had told her he didn't think it was a good idea. He didn't want her to put the DNA in the ancestry site because people had heard that they had caught a couple serial killers from the past based on using these ancestry sites. So he said basically he didn't want to be the reason that someone gets convicted of murder. So what, I mean, what are the chances? That's a weird thing to say, I think. I wouldn't think something like that, I don't think. Now I would. Now that they said it, I would. But I don't think if I was told by like my brother that he's going to put our father's DNA into an ancestry site, that I would think, oh no, wait, we might have a murderer in our distant family somewhere, and I don't want any serial killers to get caught. It's just an odd thing to think. So, I mean, what does he got hiding? But I don't mean anything against him. It's interesting because the ancestry sites, I know that at least a long time ago, that wasn't something that police were allowed to use to find people. I'm sure, things have changed now, but as far as I understand, it was always they could use their database sites that purposely, were meant to search DNA for convicts and whatever the reason may be that they're on there. But I didn't think they were allowed to use ancestry sites. I got to look into that. So I'm going to look into that. Let me know if you guys know anything about that. But that's one of the things that Jerry Lynn Burns, the accused, his lawyer is trying to get the DNA thrown out because it was taken from this ancestry site, I believe. But also, my understanding is that this was a partial DNA hit that they found in the car. Partial DNA, not a full aspect of DNA or whatever you call it. It's not a very good case, I don't think. There's nothing that links Jerry Burns to this girl. I mean, she was what, 18? He was in his mid 20s. They supposedly didn't know each other. I mean, they went to the same high school, but so many years apart that they would have never been in the same school at the same time. I don't think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm right with my math, but when would they have ever been in school together? Elementary school? I don't know. Everybody's school systems are different, but regardless. Now, there's a whole bunch of weird stuff, I think, about this case, but I always pull out weird things that I think are strange. A lot of the people who knew her talked all about her looks. It was all about this girl, who, by the way, is a beautiful girl. She's a beautiful girl. You saw the picture. She's a very, very pretty girl. But everybody talked about how pretty she was. Like the principal said she was a sweet, shy girl, but very attractive. Why would your principal say that? So odd. Other things I read, people said, she was such a pretty girl that all the girls were really jealous of her, so she didn't have a lot of friends and stuff like that. Like, what the hell? And that was before anybody was caught. They're just saying this. But no one considered the fact that this could be a female that murdered her. I just feel like that seems to make the most sense to me in this particular case, because the stabbings were in the face. That's super, super personal. Super personal. And that does sound like an angry, personal, jealous situation where it would potentially be a female. And there was a friend who I'm not going to mention the name, but in her interviews, she's talking about how she got to do all the stuff that Michelle Martinko wanted to do but never got to do because she was dead. She didn't say it in the nicest manner either. It was like, I got to go to college. Like, I don't feel bad. I got to go to college. I got to get married. I got to travel. She died. She got to die. And we were friends, but I got to have this great life and she didn't. That kind of leaned me towards her. Because, I always got to throw out a new suspect. I don't know why I have to do that. I do. And I'm not naming any names because, my God, I don't want to get in trouble. But there was some other weird things too. So they had a couple witnesses. They had two witnesses that they had help put together a suspect sketch. And the picture, I'll show it to you guys.
So here we have a guy with dark curly hair, pronounced eyebrows, darker eyes, a pronounced nose, and again, this is based on a description given by two witnesses.
So the picture here, the identification of this person is so different if you look at the picture of Jerry Burns. And mind you, I don't know what Jerry Burns looked like maybe at the time they saw him, but I don't know where the witnesses saw this guy and what the hell, where they're getting this from. However, I did read that the police tried psychics, and hey, I'm open-minded and believe all sorts of stuff. And I have seen a lot of those shows with psychics helping police, and I think it's kind of cool. But they tried psychics, and then they tried hypnosis. And this was a weird one because they had a bunch of witnesses hypnotized, like 80 witnesses hypnotized. And out of the 80 witnesses, they decided that two of them were reliable, and it was those two that made the police sketch. What the fuck? I don't know. I mean, it was 1979. Who knows how they do stuff, but I thought that was odd. And then they do a pair bond image. So now pair bond is when, they take the DNA that they have found and they put it into their crazy computer system, and it tells you like ethnicity, what this person is potentially going to look like, eye color, hair color, blah, blah, blah. And then they make a picture, and this is the picture.
Now, clearly, we can see that this picture is nothing like the police sketch.
So now we got this guy who's, I guess the way the hair is done, they can't really tell you. So I guess I'm kind of basing it on the legitimate picture they're showing you. But you look at this picture, then you look at the hypnotized witness police sketch, then look at Jerry Burns, and it's like, I don't see any of this. And mind you, the suspect images don't really necessarily have to mean anything, particularly the sketch. I mean, I don't know what the hell that deal was, so But the Paramount image is at least telling you, legit facts about this guy. So if we go through the list, you can see what they're saying as far as his ethnicity and blah, 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 blah. So here we go.
So here we have a man that is of European, possibly Northwestern descent. He has fair skin tone, blue-green eyes, blonde hair, and very few to zero freckles.
I suppose this could match Jerry Burns, but again, here's Jerry Burns' yearbook picture. And okay, that was when he was like 18. So at 25, it's several years later, but I just don't know what I think about this case yet.
If we look at the Parabon sketch at age 25, along with the sketch in the corner, and then this is at 50, and then we see the accused along with the 2017 picture, it gives us an idea of what we are comparing to.
This was like a quiet guy. Mind you, they always are the quiet ones, right? But this was like a quiet guy. He had his own business, didn't know this girl. I can't imagine he knew her in any way. Maybe he did. Maybe she was like the beautiful girl that got away or something, because he was kind of nerdy looking and whatnot. But then it was interesting that when they had the Parabon image reveal at a press conference or what have you, many of the people that knew her, friends of hers, if she had friends, because she was so beautiful she couldn't have friends. I have friends. Just kidding. But they reveal this image, and somebody immediately says, that looks like Gaunt. And Gaunt happened to be one of the classmates, choir mates, friends of Michelle Martinko. He was at the reveal. He saw the picture and he was like, oh shit, like that does look like me. Ugh, back up, people. That had to be crazy. Sitting in a group where a press conference has done this Parabon thing after like 30 years or so, of this after this murder happened, and they reveal, and it looks just like you, and you're standing there. That's craziness. But this guy also, other than really looking a lot like the sketch at the time, he was in chorus with her.
Again, here's the final chorus performance, and here is Michelle Martinko. And then at the same performance, we also have Gaunt. And here is a close-up of him as well. And if you look at his picture here, and then you take a look at this Parabon picture, it's just interesting.
He talked about in interviews, I remember sitting on the bus with her, holding her hand and blah, blah, blah. I think I saw a prom picture with the two of them in it. They seem to be close. And then this thing happens in 2018 where they, or I don't know if it was, I'll have to go back, 2018, where they're saying they have finally found somebody. And on this guy's Facebook account, he puts up the picture from this choir picture from like the night that this happened, when they did a choir performance together. The night that it happened, they did a choir performance together. That was right before she went to the mall. Just saying. And he puts the picture up on Facebook, and he pointed to himself or something, and then like made some like joke about how he was probably like wicked high during that, you know, that's me wicked high during our chorus performance, or something like that, right? Kind of like making a joke about this picture, when this picture was being, you know, broadcast and shown on different articles and, you know, news casts and whatnot, because they were talking about this unsolved murder where a girl was stabbed in the face like 27 times, and he was making a joke about the picture. I thought that was kind of odd. That was weird to me. And then, you know, talking about the friend that got to live her life, she couldn't go, she chose not to go to the mall with her that night because she had too much homework to do, but it was Christmas time. I mean, what homework did you really have to do? So that's an odd thing to now say. I couldn't go with her to the mall because I had homework. And again, I think that it's very personal to be stabbing someone right in the face. People talking about how jealous all the girls were of this beautiful girl. And, you know, and then we have this friend that's kind of rude in the way she's interviewed, you know, whatever. I mean, it just seems like there's other choices that make more sense. However, I mean, they did go through this case and go through everybody she knew very well. So presumably all these people were, you know, already canceled out. They did say they went through a ton of people and tested their DNA. So presumably the DNA didn't fit. However, I just think if you got rid of the DNA, there's so many other options. Oh, and also at one point, the brother-in-law, her brother-in-law here.
This is Michelle's sister Janelle and brother-in-law John Stonebreaker.
He was a possible suspect. And when I look up interviews about this case, there's a ton of interviews with Michelle Martinko's sister and brother-in-law. They're smiling and telling stories and la-di-da. And it's another one where it just makes you wonder. Everybody was obsessed with saying she was just so pretty that someone must have been jealous of her. And I just think that's why would that be something that's constantly talked about unless they think that that's the case? And sisters, we don't know what this relationship was like. Maybe there was contention because of this brother-in-law. I need to look further into the brother-in-law situation, but if you're told there's a brother-in-law that was a potential suspect, it leads me to think the brother-in-law either wanted something with the other girl or had something with the other girl, and that would cause for issues between all three of them. And I still say stabbing some girl in the face that is beautiful, that everybody's supposedly jealous of, just comes across like a woman's crime to me. But I don't know. But I forgot one thing. The whole I mean, I was iffy about Jerry Lynn Burns, and then my whole theories kind of came crashing down around me with one issue. They checked on his phone, And his computer had a lot of searches for like blonde girls, violent porn, rape videos, things like that. So that is not good for him at all. However, the searches were fairly recent, so they're trying to get rid of that as well as evidence because it's not relevant to a case that happened 40 years ago. So we'll see what happens. I think this is a tough one for the prosecutors, the state of Iowa, to win because I just don't see that there's necessarily a lot of evidence. However, at the same time, if they don't relocate to another venue, then he is probably going to be screwed because this is a really old cold case that had been a big deal in like Cedar Rapids and what have you, and people were really upset about this. This murder was horrible, horrific to this poor young girl. Really a terrible situation, and people were, want it to be resolved. So I think unless you move to another court location, you're probably gonna get convicted no matter what. I don't want to say it, I don't want to bring it up, but Todd Mullis, whether he did it or not, Todd Mullis did not have a fair trial at all. He was not proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, in my opinion. Clearly, if you guys have looked at my channel at all, you know how I feel about that one. And now this is another Iowa case in the same vicinity, and they want this case solved. So the lawyer he has is supposed to be really good. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm not convinced that it's him. I don't know. I mean, really, all you can base it on is DNA. With regard to Jerry Lynn Burns, there's nothing relevant to Michelle Martinko other than he could have known her from going to the same school in totally different years and seen her at the mall or something. And just, I don't know. But another crazy aspect to this, which I didn't plan on mentioning, that kind of screws him over too, but is completely unrelated to the case, is that his cousin went missing a few years ago, and his wife supposedly committed suicide, but a lot of people were iffy about whether or not it was a suicide, even though the police said absolutely was a suicide. Now that he's being charged with killing Michelle Martinko, people are kind of pointing the finger at him about his cousin and his wife. The cousin, I looked into a little bit. I'm going to get more into it. I think his name was Brian. I think his name was Brian Burns, and he lived in the same vicinity with his brother, and he left one day. He said he was going to get picked up. It was Thanksgiving, I believe, a couple of years back, Thanksgiving, and he never came back. They haven't seen him since. Articles that I have read and looked at say that he was slightly physically and mentally handicapped. However, I have also been told that that's not necessarily the case either. But yeah, he has had a mysterious disappearance. He still hasn't been found. That case has been really brought back up to the surface ever since the Michelle Martinko thing came back up. So they can't use that in the case, I don't believe, because it'd be more prejudicial than probative. But that's giving him a bad public opinion at the very least. So if you guys haven't heard about this yet, look it up. Let me know what you think. It was another one that happened in Iowa. Go figure. It's a pretty interesting case, and Jerry Lynn Burns is just now getting into his court case. I'm going to be looking into it some more too as, he gets to trial and what have you, and we'll see what happens. There's so much to talk about with this case that I'm going to stop here, and I'll probably talk about it again later because I really got to investigate a lot further on this one because I really am not sure what I think. I'd love to hear what you guys think though. So it's Michelle Martinko from 1979, cold case murder, and Jerry Lynn Burns, accused murderer. So check it out. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching. I guess that's it for now. And please share, like, comment. Of course, comment. I will talk to you. I will talk to you as soon as you comment to me. I will reply as best as I can. Can't wait to hear from you guys. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do it. Bell, 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 bell. And I'll see you in the next video. And I'll talk to you guys soon. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye. Thank you. Bye, bye, bye.